Okay, so I'm just going to be brushing over slicing and indexing for the purpose of learning arrays. Okay, so here we can see that we've created this array, okay, ARR, and here we are trying to index, and you're trying to slice our array to just remove a certain group of elements that we want from the array. Okay, so when you're trying to slice your data or index your data, like before, you just reference your variable name of the array or your data you're working with. In this case is ARR, then your square brackets, the beginning point, the starting point of the data, the elements you want to extract, and the ending point of the elements you want to extract, excluding that particular index. Okay, so in this case we are trying to see that we are trying to extract the first the index number 1 through to index number 3, okay, excluding index number 4. So in this case we are supposed to be indexing from 20 up to 40, because as we know, in indexing we start counting from 0. Okay, so you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So this one is referring to 20 because when you're counting your indexes, you start from 0, making 20 index number 1, and then with your ending point, it excludes the index that you have specified within your brackets. Okay, so in this case, instead of ending at index number 4, it ends at index number 3 because it is index number 4 exclusive. Okay, so we have it's counting from 20, 32 to 40 because you have index 1, 2, 3 as the elements that you want to index out of your array. Okay, and with your second, okay, so let me just and run it so that we see there. So we have 20, 30, 40 from our array, and I'm going to just comment that out and uncomment this one. When you see your array looking, your how do you call it, your slicing looking this empty, it's trying to just say that you want all your rows, all your columns. Okay, so for instance, let me just remove here, or rather let me specify what it actually means. So this example is trying to say from your array, let me make it comment, from array I'm trying to get all my rows, all my columns, all my rows, and here is where you specify your steps. Okay, it's not necessary to specify your steps if it's not doing some kind of selective outputting. Okay, so if you're not selecting particular elements, it's not necessarily important to write the steps. Okay, in this case, when you see -1, it means that you want to start stepping from the last element. Okay, so in this case, -1 will be 50. Okay, but because it's a repetitive action that reads through the entire data set, our last element keeps changing. Okay, because after you have referenced your last element to 50 and you've taken 50, you take 50 out of your list. Now your last element is 40, then you take 40 out of your list, and now your last element is 30, take 30 out of your list, and last element is 20. So the output will seem like we flipped the data reading from the back to the front. Okay, so that's all this means. It's just saying that I want all my columns, I want all my rows, I want all my columns, I want all my rows, and I want you to step from the back. Okay, you could have put anything here. You could have put step of 1, a step of 2. In that case, it would jump 1 or 2 elements, then it will reproduce the next element that comes after. But in this case, we are just reading from the back. So when we run this, we should get our elements 50 through to 10. Okay. There. Collecting data, right? Okay, so there are so many ways you can select your data based on what you're trying to do, really. We are going to be going through the basics, okay, to get just an understanding of how you can retrieve data from your data frame. We are still on Pandas and how Pandas helps us navigate our data frame, okay, helps us analyze data within our data frame. Okay, we are still making reference to DF, the data frame we created DF, so I'm just going to print it above us, above the cell we are working on, so we can still see the data frame, okay, make reference to it easily. I would have used the dot head, right, if the data frame was so big, but it's so small that it's not necessary, right? I'm just going to run DF. So this is the data frame we are working with. That's the same data frame we created before. Okay, so when referencing your data frame, for instance, you want to reference, in this case, we want to reference a column. This is a column, right? Name, age, and score are column names. These are the column headers, right? Helps us get or retrieve information from that belongs to the whole column, right? Let's assume that we want to extract information. We want to extract data from name column. So we just want to print out the whole name column, right? To do that, we just have to reference the data frame. So DF, our square brackets, then name, which is the name of this particular column. Okay. It could be age we are referencing. Okay, we could be referencing age. Okay, it could be any column at all, but this is how you write it to reference that particular column, so that like you can print out that column alone. Okay, so if I should run this, I should get the age column. This is the age column, literally in the form of a series. Okay, print it out in the form of a series, right? So let's go on to for instance, if you want to print out multiple columns. Okay, when printing out multiple columns, it's not very different from printing out one column. Okay, but in a sense that we are printing out a two-dimensional figure, we cannot be using a single bracket to reference it. Okay, so we are using double brackets to reference it. Okay, so we'll be using the first bracket like before, and then a second bracket, then the columns that you want to reference. In this case, we are trying to print out name and score. This is very easy, to be honest. You can easily forget it. Okay, when you're learning, you can't forget it. That's why the internet is free. Okay, you can just always come watch it again and know what you're working with. Okay, so yeah, so now we have just our two columns here, our new data frame with just two columns, right? So yeah, you can just pull out as many columns as you need for your multi selecting columns. Okay, let's say you want to select your rows. Okay, there are two ways you can do it. You can use iloc, you can use loc. Okay, iloc helps you select using indexing. Okay, purely indexing. It's like doing your normal indexing, right, that we've learned before. Okay, in a data frame. That's what iloc allows you to do. Whilst loc helps you select from your data frame using your labels. In this case, this is your label, this is your label. Okay, these could have been words, it could have been anything. So loc helps you use a labeling to retrieve your data, to access your data and pull it out of your data frame. whilst iloc uses strictly indexes. So this would be index 0, this would be index 1, this would be index 2. iloc strictly uses indexing. Okay, so let's uncomment df.iloc. Okay, here we can see iloc referencing the first row. Okay, it has a square brackets, then 0. 0 is always our first element, right? So if we should run this, we should get the first row. Oh yeah, right there. Okay, here we have Alice 25 and 85.5. Okay, so iloc with the index of 0 pulls out your first index, your first row. Okay, doesn't matter the indexes that you have here. You could have had names here, but then this is index 0 as far as indexing is concerned. Okay, we could have pulled out index 2. Okay, and so pull out your whole row with Charlie 35 and 78 right here. Okay, and then it helps you understand your data row by just giving you your column names right beside it, so you can easily reference it, right? So loc, as I said, deals with labels, right? So in the sense that here our labeling is 0, it's ironic, right? It could have been Amma. If it was Amma, we would have put Amma here and it would have outputted that column for us, that row for us, sorry. But then here we are referencing the first row again. Okay, let me try referencing a column. Okay, CH, right? Oh, right. Okay, so let's see, I want first row. First row. So I want from the first row, I want the column H, so like where it intersects, right? So from row 1, from row 0, because the row label is 0, and the age label is age, right? So where these two intersect, right, is the value that will be produced. Okay, we could have gone for another column, let's say score. Okay, and just like that, wherever it intersects is the value that we'll get. So with the label 0 score, this is where it intersects. So our output is 85.5. If we had chosen another row, let's say row 1, we would have changed respectively to 90.3. Just like I said earlier, indexing the iloc, right, helps you index, right? So here you see that we are trying to index multiple rows and multiple columns at the same time, right? So here, because we are trying to pull out multiple rows and multiple columns at the same time, so here you can see here referencing rows, here referencing columns. Okay, so we are trying to tell Pandas to go into this data frame df from index 02 to index 2 excluding. I want you to print it out, and then with the columns from first column to the third column, I want you to print it out excluding the third column, right? So if we should print it out, we should have a tiny data frame, right, reading from your first row to row index 1, because it's excluding index 2, and then first column from column 1, because this is 0, index 0, this is index 1, then this is index 2, and then index 3 exclusive, right? In this case, we don't even have an index 3. Okay, so this is the expected outcome. You can play with it. Okay, you can select any part of the data frame that you want to to get used to using these properties. Okay, it comes in handy.